Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we'll be diving into an essential topic in C programming known as control statements. We will specifically focus on if-else statements and nested if-else statements. Now, understanding this concept will help you make decisions in your code and control the flow of your programs. So let's get started. Now, what are control statements? Now, control statements in C allow us to dictate the flow of execution based on certain conditions. They enable our programs to make decisions and execute specific blocks of codes on whether a condition is either true or false. So in simple terms, what do control statements do are they specify the order in which the computations are performed. And how do they do that? They do that based on certain conditions, whether the condition is true or false. This means that we can control the execution of code blocks, repeat actions, or make decisions in our program. Now there are several different kinds of control statements in C, and an example of this is if-else statements, for loops, while loops, do-while loops, and goto statements, which we will be seeing in the coming videos. Now before we dive into what is if-else or the if block, we need to understand what are statements and blocks in programming. Now a statement is basically any expression that is followed by a semicolon. Let's say we are defining an integer value. Int x is equal to 0. So in this case, as you can see here, this declaration is terminated by a semicolon. So the entire declaration is a statement itself. Similarly, in C programming, a code is made up of several such statements. Okay, so let's take an example. So you can see here in this program, we have different statements such as calling the printf function terminated by a semicolon, the scanf function, okay, and so on. Now, what are blocks? Now, blocks of code are basically several statements that are grouped together, several statements or declarations that are grouped together. And how are they grouped together? They are grouped together by using curly braces. And inside this, we will have several different statements which will be executed. So this entire thing is called as a block or a block of code. We can see this in the following example, where the main function itself is a block of code. That is the main block. Okay. So as you can see here, it starts with a curly braces. It has several statements inside it, and it also ends with a curly brace. So this entire main function itself is a block of code. Now, let us go ahead and learn about if-else blocks or if-else statements in C programming. Okay. So let's begin with the basic if-else statement. So what does a basic if-else statement does is it basically checks if a condition is true. So in this case, we have a diagram here which will help us understand this much better. Now in this, when the program starts and whenever we encounter an if condition, what will happen here is it will first check the condition. It will evaluate the condition and see if whether the condition is true or false. So in this case, we have two options. Okay, we have two decisions. So the first decision will be based on the true value and the other one will be based on the false value. If the condition is true, it will execute a block of code, and if the condition is false, it will execute an alternative block of code defined by the else statement. So in this case, we will have some block of code, and even in this case, we will have some block of code. Now I will just show you the basic syntax of an if-else statement. So the basic syntax of an if-else statement is, first we have the if keyword, then we have the condition inside brackets. Now if this condition is true, it will execute the following statements inside this block highlighted by green. Otherwise, if the condition is false, we have to mention an else statement here. The else block will be executed. Okay, that is the statements inside the else block will be executed. This is the simplest way to write an if-else statement or an if-else condition. Now let us see this with the help of a simple example. Now you have taken an example of finding whether a number is even or odd. So what does the program do first? It takes an integer value. It asks the user to enter an integer number. So the user will enter an integer number. And once the number is taken as input, what will happen here is I have made an if-else condition. Now in the first if statement, the condition here is that any number that is divisible by 2 should give a remainder of 0. In this case, I am taking the number and finding the modulus, If the mod is 0 and it is equal to 0 in this case, then the condition is true, which means that the number is even. If this condition is false, what will happen is this statement or this block will be skipped and the else block will be executed. So let's go ahead and try this by running the program. So let's enter the number 8. So as we all know, 2 is divisible by 8 and they will give us the mod 0. So as you can see, 8 is even. Now let's run the program again and give another number 7. In this case, 7 will give a mod of 1, which is not equal to 0. In this case, the condition will be false and the else block will be executed. So if I press enter, you can see 7 is odd. This is the simplest way of executing an if-else statement. Another way to write an if-else statement is there are several different ways. We can write the if-else. If we want, we can also remove the else part and only execute the if part. Okay. Now what I will do here is, if the number is divisible by 2, it is even. And if it is not divisible by 2, I will not print anything. Okay. I will not print anything. Okay. So let's try this. If I compile and run this program, I'll enter the number 8 and you can see 8 is even. But if I enter the number 7, my program, okay, sorry, I didn't compile it. I didn't save the program, just a small mistake. Let's go ahead and run it again. Yeah, if I enter the number 8, it will tell me 8 is even. And if I enter the number 7, it should not print anything since the else block is not there. This won't give you any error. This is also the correct way of writing an if-else statement. As you can see, it didn't give me any output. So I can also write an if-else statement by specifying only the if condition. Okay, so this is how we write a simple if-else statement. Now we will look at what a nested if-else statement. Now a nested if-else statement is basically, it is simply an if-else statement which is inside another if-else block or statement. Okay, that is an if-else block inside another if-else block. So if we look at the syntax, it has the following syntax. We will have a if condition. It will check the condition. If the condition is true, it will check for another condition. Okay. Now if this other condition is also true, it will execute some statements. But if the other condition, that is the second condition, let me write it here as condition 2 and this is condition 1. If condition 2 is false, it will execute the else statement. Okay. But what happens if condition 1 is false? If condition 1 is false, then this entire block will not be executed. In fact, the else block of the first condition will be executed. Okay, in this case, what will happen is the else block of condition 1 will be executed. So if it is true, this will be executed. If it is false, this will be executed. Similarly, in this case, if this is true, this will be executed, and this is false, the else condition will be executed. This is known as a if-else statement. Okay. So here we can understand this with the help of a simple flowchart. When the first if-else condition is encountered, it will check if the condition is true or false. So inside this true condition, we will have another condition. It will either be true or false. Similarly, here it will be either true or false. Okay. Let's see this with the help of an example. If it is true, statement 1 will be executed. If it is false, statement 2. If it is true in the second case, statement 3. And if it is false in the second case, then statement 4. So let's try to understand this in a much better way with the help of another example. So let's say I want to find the grades of a student. Okay, how has the student done in his exam? So let's take a variable score. I will ask the user to enter his score. The user will enter score. %D and score. Okay. Now what I will do here is I will put the student into different categories based on their score. So if the score of a student is greater than equal to 50, let's say that the student has passed. Let's say the student has passed. Congratulations, you have passed. Okay. And if the student's score is less than 50, it means the student has failed. So let's put a condition for that. Else printf, sorry, you have failed. Better luck next time. Okay. Now let's say I want to, if the student scores above 50, the student has passed. If the student scores below 50, the student has failed. Now let's say I want to find out which students have got grades above 85. Okay, means which student have done a really good job at getting a good score. Okay, so I will put another if condition here. I will say if score is greater than equal to 85, I will say excellent work. And if the student has a score below 85, that is above 50 and below 85, I will simply print else. I will simply print good job. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this program. So let me run it. Let's say the student score is below 50, that is 10. Sorry, you have failed, better luck next time. Let's say the student score is 55. In this case, congratulations, you have passed. In this case, when the second condition is evaluated, the student has a score below 85. So what will happen is this block will be skipped and the flow will go to the else block. So as you can see, it has printed the value good job. And if we give the student a score of 90, okay, what will happen here? The first condition is true, it is above 50, congratulations, you have passed. Then we will check if the score is above 85, yes, which is also true, and in this case the if block will be executed. So excellent work. So this is how, using control statements or if blocks, we can control the flow of execution in our program. Okay, so to sum it up, control statements like if else and nested if else are crucial for decision making in C programs. Now always remember to keep your conditions clear and logical, and try to avoid deeply nested structures. Don't try to make too many nested structures, because what will happen is it will make your code harder to read, and if any error is encountered, it will take a lot of time in solving that. Okay, so I hope you found this video helpful. Give a thumbs up and subscribe for more programming content. If you have any questions or topics you'd like to see next, drop a comment below. Thanks for watching and happy coding.